Good morning, students. I hope everybody is doing well. Great. Today, our main strands still remain number. Our substrands still remain counting, representation, and cardinalities. But under the counting, representation, and cardinalities, the main topic that we are going to discuss is the comparisons and how to write the 4 things about the given numbers. Comparing numbers using less than, equal to, or greater than sign. When you talk about a comparison, it means the use of less than, equal to, or greater than sign to compare numbers, which shows that one number being greater or being lesser than the other. Okay, good. So before you can compare and choose a number that is greater than the other or a number that is smaller than the other, then you need certain steps to compare, or you need certain steps to follow, or there should be a laid down precedent that you need to follow or guide you before you compare numbers. You can't just compare any number just like that. Your comparison must follow a certain pattern. It must go with a stated rules. Okay, good. Let's see the first steps that will be needed before you can compare a given numbers, or before you can compare a given quantities. One, the first thing that you have to do before you can insert the comparison symbols like the greater than, less than, or equal to. First thing is that you count both given numbers of digits, and the one with more number of digits is greater than the one with less number of digits. When two numbers are given to you to compare, to choose the one that is greater, the first thing you have to do is that the first rule also says what? Count the number of digits. Count the number of digits. The one with more number of digits is greater than the one with less number of digits. Then the second rule also states what? When you count the number of digits and they are the same, let's check the second rule here. If the number of digits are the same, then start comparing the first digit from both numbers, starting from the left side of the numbers. And the one with the bigger digit is greater. The first rule states what? Count the number of digits first. The one having more number of digits is greater. Assuming that you count the number of digits and they are all having the same number of digits, it doesn't mean that you can't compare. Let's check the second rule. The second rule also says to what? If the number of digits are the same, then start comparing first digit from both numbers, starting from the left side of the numbers, and the one with the bigger number or the bigger digit is greater. Let's assume that you count the number of digits, they are all having the same number of digits, and then when you check the first digit from both sides, they are also having the same number. Then what happens to the next? If the first digit of the numbers are the same, then compare the second digit of the numbers starting from the left side of the numbers. the one with the bigger number is greater. Let's assume that we count the number of digits. They are all having the same number of digits. We check the first digit. They are all having the same first digits equal. Then you check the next digit, which is the second one. They are all having the second one or the second digit equal. Then you continue checking the next digit or the immediate digit until you choose a number that is greater. Let's check all these numbers before you can compare or choose your comparison symbol. Then let's see if all the numbers are the same. If all the numbers of digits are the same and each digit of the numbers are also the same, then you put an equal sign between them. Good. First one, Emrani Dikan is saying, what's a kind numbers here? Oh, both sides, all kind numbers now. The numbers doors no, or no na also. So they compare two numbers. You count the number of digits. The numbers does no or no. Then you put the greater sign to that. And also say what kind number of digits na say numbers ni na aye pair. Then you compare the first digit from both sides. Na the kind of what they can compare ni na funny na. If the first digits are also the same, then you start comparing the second digits. If the second digits are the same, then you start comparing what? The third and that other. And also so kind the number of digits now we now check it first, check it second, now what checking then you put an equal sign between them. Okay. So you can't just compare numbers like that. You need to follow a certain precedent before you can use the comparison symbols. Let's solve one more example under the comparison symbol. Example. Compare the following numbers by using greater than, less than, or equal to, okay? Good. We have A. The numbers are 49274 against 4984. The B, the numbers of the B start with a 61367 against 89712. The C also has the numbers like 527134 against 518932. The D, 7382 against 7382. You are going to compare these numbers and choose the one that is greater or the one that is having less number here. Okay, good. Now, the first thing you have to do is that you write your solution here. Good. Good. We are going to compare the first one, the A. Good. The first thing you have to do is that you count the number of digits. The one having more number of digits is greater. Now looking at this one here, let's count the number of digits here against the number of digits here. The first one we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the second numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4. So which means that the one having more number of digits is greater. Okay, so then you will not waste more time, which means that the 49274 is greater than 7984 because 49274 is having more number of digits than 7984. Good. Now let's compare the other one, the B. Let's compare the B. The B, the first thing you have to do is that you count the number of digits, okay? So let's count the number of digits here. The first numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The second numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are having the same number of digits. Then you compare the first numbers. If they are having the same number of digits, you can't stop comparing these numbers because you need to compare and choose the one that is greater or choose whether they are also the same. Because they are having the same number of digits, therefore, we can use the first rule to justify that one number is greater than the other. Then we need to check the first digit here. So we have the 6 here against 8 here. Because when you count the number of digits from both sides, you're having the same number of digits. And then you check the first digit from both sides. Therefore, the 6 against 8, then you can also draw your conclusion that the 8 is bigger than the 6. Then you put your sign here, which means that 89721 is greater than 61367. Okay, good. Because after the comparisons, you can also draw your conclusion that the numbers 89721 is greater than 61367, or 61367 is less than 89712. Okay, good. Let's solve the other one. The C. Let's compare the C. The first thing you have to do when you are comparing numbers is that you count the number of digits and then you count the number of digits from this side too. So let's count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when you count this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They are all having the same number of digits. Then you compare the first digit from both sides. Now, this side here, we have the 5, and then this side too, we have the 5. And what did the law says here? When you count the number of the gates and they are all having the same number of the gates, and then you check the first digit for both sides. When you check the first digit too, they are also having the same number here. Then you continue to check the second digit. The second digit here is 2 here, and then the second digit here is 1 here. So then you can also draw your conclusion that 2 is bigger than the 1. Then the entire number here is greater than the other one. Then 527134 is greater than 518932, or 518932 is less than 527134. Good. Now let's compare the last one. Now, before you can compare a given numbers, like I said, the first thing that you have to do is you count the number of the gate from one side, and then you count the number of the gate from the other side. Kind numbers in the door, okay? The doors no one the song to say the year first example na you say A no 49274 is having more number of the gate than 7984. Now let's count this side and see. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you check the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then they are having the same number of digits. Then you compare the first digits. Okay. The first digit here is what? Is 6. This one is 7, right? Good. And now we have the 7, 2 here. Then, because they are having the same first digit here, then you move on to the immediate or the next digit. And now here is 3 here. The next number from this side too is also what? 3. They are also the same. Then you continue to compare the numbers and match them. So the next digit after 3 here is what? Is 8. And when you come here too is what? 8. Then they are also the same. And then you start comparing, okay, the next digit. The next digit here is 2. And the next digit from this side here is also 2. Now you can also draw your conclusion that the 7382 is equal to 7382. Then you put your equal sign between them. Okay. Now, which shows that these two numbers are the same. Are you okay? Good. Don't forget to count the number of the gates. And what we said is that the one having more number of the gates is greater. If they are having the same number of the gates, then you compare their first digits. If the first digits are the same, then you move on to the next digits from the first digits and compare. The one having the bigger number is greater. If they are still having the same number, then you continue compare the next digits. If you are still having the same, then you continue comparing the immediate or the next digits. If all the numbers are the same, then you put an equal sign. Good. Now let's see after the comparison. In case the question asks you to write 4 things about the comparisons, or the 4 things about the number that you have compared. Now let's see something here. When they ask you to write 4 things, or the 4 things that is true about the comparison that you have done, now you are going to state them one after the other. It will be in a statement form, but in mathematically, you have to write it in this form. First, you state the number that is greater than the other. Second, you state the number that is less than other number. After then, you work out to find the difference between the bigger number and the smaller number. Then use the difference or the answer to state the third and fourth statements, or use the difference that you get from the bigger number and the smaller number to write the remaining 3 and 4 statements about the what? The comparison. So you started with the number of times, that's the difference here. The number of times the greater number is more than other number. Then the fourth one will be you state the number of times the smaller number is also less than other number. I said the 4 things about the comparison, which is true statement, is that 1, you state the number that is greater than the other. That is the first thing. The second, you state the number that is less than the other. After these 2, then you work out the 2 numbers. You find the difference. Finding the difference means you subtract the what? The smaller number from the bigger number to get the difference. Then you use the difference to write the 2 things about the comparison, making it 4. So using the difference here, you state the number of times, that is the difference. The number of times the bigger number or the greater number is more than the other. Using the difference again, state the number of times the smaller number is also less than the other. Let's do one more examples about how to write the 4 things about the comparisons. Example: compare and write 4 things about the numbers. So this is the question here. You first compare the numbers. You choose the one that is greater, or you state whether the one number here is greater or less than, or you identify whether they are the same. Okay. After the comparison, then you write the 4 things about what you have stated. Okay. So that is exactly what you are going to do now. So let me write my solution here. Now with the comparison, the first thing that we have to do is to count all the number of digits from one side, and then you count the number of digits from the other side. The number of digits from this side is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you count the number of digits from the other side here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then if you're having the same number of digits like what you did previously, then you start comparing the first number here. The first number here is 8. Then the first number here also is what? 8. Then you compare the next one. The next one here is 4. And the next number here is also what? 5. Then you can also draw your conclusion that the 5 is bigger than the 4. Therefore, the entire number here is greater than the other one. Okay, so which means that the 859125 is greater than 849125, or 849125 is less than 859125. Now, after the comparison, we are going to write our statements, the 4 things. Okay. The 4 things about the numbers. And what you are going to write here is the true statement. 1. 859125 is greater than 849125. Okay, that'll be our first statement here. Now the second one. 849125 is less than 859125. Okay, good. The third one. The third one, you must use the difference between the first numbers and the second numbers to write your statement. So let's work the difference here. The difference is always you must state what? You state the two numbers and then you find the difference by subtracting the smaller number from the bigger number here. Now we have the bigger number here. So per this, I have my numbers. That is the first bigger number here. Then you subtract the other one, the smaller number from it. Good. When you subtract this one, you get 0. here to 0, 0, 0, 1, and then 0. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, which means that the difference is 10,000. The difference is 10,000. So now let's see how to feature this 10,000 into our statement. Now, which means that we can start with the 8, 5, 9, 1, 2, 5 is 10,000 more than 8, 4, 9, 1, 2, 5. Okay. Then the first statement will also be in this form: 8, 4, 9, 1, 2, 5 is 10,000 less than 8, 5, 9, 1, 2, 5. Good. Now, that is the statement. When a number is given to you, compare them, choose the one that is bigger or the one that is smaller here. Now, after the comparisons, then you write the 4 things that is true about what you have done. The first one, you have the 859,125 is greater than 849125. Then the second one also states what? The 849125 is less than the 859125. These two, the first two statements, you can derive it from the comparisons of the two numbers when you use the comparison procedure. One, you count the number of digits, the one having more number of digits is greater. And if they are all having the same number of digits, then you check the first digit. If the first digits are the same, you check the next digit. That is why you're able to derive the 859125 is also greater than the 849125. Then if you want the other two statements, then you find the difference between the bigger number here and the smaller number. And exactly what we did it here. So when you subtract the 849125 from 859125, then the difference is 10,000. Therefore, our third statement here will be, what's it number way? 859125 SOS9 849125. SOS9 the saying that is the difference here, 10,000. 859125 SOS9 849125. Those are 10 times, okay, 10,000 times. So which means that the 859125 is 10,000 more than 849125. I have 849125 here. It's Sasne 859125. The was saying it's Sasne 10,000 less than, okay, that is 10,000. So 849125 is 10,000 less than 859125. The association was saying any association was saying, then you need to find the difference before you can write these two statements. So in all, you can get the first two from the comparison symbol or the comparison procedure. And then the second two, you find the difference between the two numbers that you are comparing, and then use it to write your statement. Please watch the video and make sure that you write everything that is associated with the video, okay? All the examples, you must write them. If there's any difficulty, WhatsApp me or call me for rectification. Thank you.